Okay, thanks for having me. I'm Becky, and as Robin said, I'm an electronic engineer by background, and I now work in the BBC's Research and Development Department. I'm going to talk about how to build a weather robot. Robin mentioned earlier in his intro about an innovation programme that the BBC runs called the Connected Studio, and it is basically a way of trying to conjure up and develop new ideas for the BBC's online products, raft of ideas that we produce, and it's sort of open to internal BBC staff as well as external companies as well. So I'll mention a bit at the end if you are interested in getting involved. But this is a project that came out of this. We conceived of this idea, we pitched it, prototyped it, and we turned it into a 3-month pilot. The first thing I should say about it is that it's not a hardware robot. It's not a physical robot that will follow you around and tell you what the weather is, unfortunately. It's a software robot, and it's a Twitter-based software robot. So probably the best way to explain what it does is basically it's a piece of software that sits and waits for tweets, basically, and it waits for tweets about the weather, and it will automatically tweet you back with a weather forecast for the time and place that you're talking about. So in this example, I've tweeted it and asked it, show me the weather in Bristol tonight, and what it will do is automatically and instantly tweet me back, and it's told me we expect grey cloud with minimum temperature of 0 degrees C. Stay cosy, and it's given me a link to the BBC's weather site for Bristol. This was actually in January, so don't be put off if this is wrong. So that's basically what it does. As far as the user is concerned, it's just tweeting and it's getting an instant reply, but it's really a little robot sitting there waiting for your tweets rather than a real person. So I don't know how well you can read this, but I'm going to tell you what it says anyway, so don't worry. This is a sort of high-level block diagram of all the things that the weatherbot needs to do in order to work. The first thing to say is that the weatherbot is essentially a piece of software that sits in between two tried and tested pieces of software. The first being on the user end, on the front end, Twitter. Everyone knows what it is, they know how it works. We're essentially just using it as our user interface. And on the back end, you've got, it's fallen off the edge there, but that's the BBC's online weather service. So it's exactly the same technology that already exists. It already powers the BBC's online weather homepage. So if you were to log on to that and type London in the search box, and it would give you the weather forecast for London, it's exactly the same thing. How it actually does that, the weatherbot it doesn't care about. So long as it puts in a time and a place and gets a forecast back, that's all it needs to know. The first thing that needs to happen is the user sends a tweet. That's easy enough. That's all the user needs to do. The weatherbot sits there and waits for a tweet to come in and to the @BBC Weatherbot account. And as soon as it does, the first thing it needs to do is have a read through and do what we call natural language processing to pull out a location and a time from the tweet. I don't have to have put it in any particular format. I could have put Bristol tonight or Cardiff tomorrow, or I could have put in a postcode, and it should be pretty good at working out where you're talking about. The next thing it does, once it's got the time and place, is formulate a request, which it sends off to the BBC's weather service for that place. Like I said, I don't care how it does that, but it will feed me back a response in the format of a really long string of data for the weather forecast for that place. Obviously, I have to be selective about what I'm going to show because Twitter is 140 characters, so I choose the data I need, and they are the wind speed in miles per hour, the temperature in degrees C, and a weather code. A weather code is a number between 0 and 32, which the Met Office and the BBC Weather Service use to describe certain different types of weather, so it could be sunny or snowy or light rain or something like that. After that, then I have to convert it to a human-readable sentence, so I've got those 3 numbers. I basically use a set of lookup tables. I know that code 32 is a tropical storm or something. I turn it into a sentence. At this point, I would also add the quip that we call it, which is the thing that told me to stay cosy in the previous example, or bring a brolly or something like that. It basically has a whole list of things it could say, and it picks one that is suitable for a given set of weather conditions that it's found. I then add the link to the BBC's weather site to the end, and I bundle it up into a tweet and send it back to the user. And all that happens at the speed of light, essentially. So you get your forecast instantly. So, like I said, we ran a 3-month pilot of this, at the end of which we commissioned a closed user trial with 300 people, which had very positive initial feedback. And off the back of that, it was commissioned, I'm pleased to say, to become part of the BBC's News and Weather service for a minimum of 12 months. We got to continue our collaboration with an independent company called Nixon McInnes, who are based in Brighton, who helped us to build this. It was a real, true collaboration between about 2 engineers in BBC R&D and Nixon McInnes, and we built this together, so it was a really great achievement that we managed to get it through. The soft launch is due in the end of November to a sort of limited group of people. I'm not sure who they'll be yet. And then hopefully, all being well, it'll be released into the wild in 2014, so watch this space. That's me, if anyone has any questions. And if you are at all interested in getting involved in collaborating on some cool project ideas between with the BBC, I strongly suggest you have a look at the Connected Studio website that's there and come aboard. Thanks.